Alright, welcome to Mr. Nelson's YouTube video over prime factorization. Alright, so when we are doing prime factorization, this is basically just breaking down a number into what its multiples are to find out what multiples we would times by each other to get us to that number. Alright, so let's do an example real quick. So we've got 150. And well, 150 is what times what? Well, 15 times 10. Because I know 15 times 10 equals 150. Well, I also know that 15 can be split up into 5 times 3. And I know now that 5 times 3, there's nothing I can split 5 into times itself besides 5 times 1, which doesn't really matter, because anything times 1 we know is the original number. And then 3 I can't split up anymore. Anything times, we got 3 times 1 and that's it. Okay. Now we go over to the 10, and then we know that 10 is 5 times 2. So my prime factorization, I get this. Alright. Well, really and truly, it's 5 times 3 times 5 times 2. Well, I can put some stuff together, okay? I know that these two 5s are the same number, right? Well, I told you that exponents are a number times itself, right? So this would look like this, 5 squared, because this right here tells me how many times I multiply it by itself, 1 and 2. Okay, so this sentence, or multiplication sentence, whatever you want to call it, would be 5 squared times 3 times 2. Alright, let's look at the next one. Or let's rehash, okay? So prime factorization. Prime factorization is breaking into parts. Okay, so we're breaking it into the smallest parts as I can. So I'm just finding the multiples. I'm not asking for divisions. I'm just finding what times what. And then breaking those two pieces down into smaller pieces. What times what is 150? Well, 15 times 10, right? And then I broke those, the 10 and the 15, into smaller pieces. Okay? So it's just breaking it into parts. And you're trying to get the smallest parts possible. Alright, so let's look at another example. We've got 99. Okay? Well, I know that 9 times 11 gives me 99. Well, from there, 11 is prime. I can't multiply anything times something to give me 11. But 9 isn't. So I can do 3 times 3. So really, I've got this as my sentence. Well, again, with exponents, right? I know that 3 times 3 is the same thing as 3 squared, because that 2 tells me how many times I multiply 3 times itself. Okay, so my sentence is really 3 squared times 11. Alright, let's look at one more example. Remember, smallest parts is what we're breaking it down into. Okay? If you come into a prime number like 7, 11, we can't break that down anymore, so that's just our number. Okay? Usually things you can break down are things that end in an even number, things that are divisible by 3, divisible by 7, divisible by those other prime numbers, divisible by 5. Okay? So like 5, see if it can be divided by 5, 7, 3, or 2. Okay, those are the most common things that they can divide by. All right, or 11, because that was our last one that we looked at. Okay. All right, let's look at 125. All right. Well, I know that 125 is 5 times 25, right? Because 25, 50, 75, 100, 125. All right, so now 5 I can't break down anymore, so we know that that's going to be it on that side. But 25 can be broken down into 5 times 5. Well, now we have our prime factorization. And since we've got 3 5s, we've got 1, 2, 3, we know that 3 5s looks like this. 5 with an exponent of 3 because it's just 5 times 5 times 5. That's what the 3 tells me because it's 3 times. Alright, so my sentence or my end result is 5 to the 3rd power. Alright, now what you're going to do is you're going to do some examples yourself. Alright, you can always look back on these examples. Always look back on these examples. If you need a little bit more understanding, know that you're just breaking it down into its multiples until you get that prime number. Like 5, 7, these are my prime numbers. Meaning there's nothing I can multiply by to get to 5. I can't multiply 2 times 2 because that's 4. I can't multiply 3 times 3 because that's 6 for the 7. I can't get that. Anything that can only be multiplied by 1 to get it. So 5 times 1, yeah, that's 5. That's prime numbers, okay? All right. So you're going to do some prime factorization today. If you need a little bit of help, don't hesitate to ask. All right.